Foundation. Now, what did you go? Yes, so, good morning, all of you. Today we're going to talk about the Katanga Secession. We have some of Katanga Secession. So, all those political instabilities are mainly caused by the same things at large. The Biafra secession, the Katanga secession, we are mostly caused by similar causes. What is a secession? Secession is an attempt to break away from the central government to establish a new government. Secession was an attempt to break away from the central government to form a new government within the same state. For example, what about Uganda? Banagamba nti abasoga beekutudde ku gavumenti eri mu bukulembeze, bafunye gavumenti eyaabwe, but within the same state, within the same country. That's what we call a secession, an attempt to break away from the central government or to establish a new government within the same state. So Katanga secession, it was an attempt to break away from the central government of DR Congo, led by the Prime Minister Patrice Lumumba, which was by independence. It was granted independence by his leadership. So nti Katanga yali attempt kubanga central government eya Congo, Katanga yeekutula ku Congo eforminge state eyaayo within the same state. Congo yali nsi nnene ng'era provinces nga 6. Waliko Katanga, waliko Leopoldville, among others. So Katanga yo after independence yaga yeekutule ebeere independent state within Congo after independence. So bagatulabe what caused the Katanga secession. That secession broke out in 1960 when Moise Tshombe, the Prime Minister of Katanga, led the people of Katanga in that conflict or in that way to break away from the central government. So what were the major causes, the immediate factors which caused the Katanga secession? Nsonga ki ezaaliwo ez'amangu ezaleeta Katanga secession DR Congo? Tugambye nti Congo ku independence kwennyini immediate after independence, Katanga weeyokutulira ku Congo. So what caused the Katanga secession? First of all, abazungu bwe baali bafuga Congo baagifugira mu provinces. Buli province erina agikulembera, naye nga balipootinga eri gavumenti ey'abazungu. Nabwekityo, the first cause of the Katanga secession was colonial legacy, or the administrative structure of the Belgian. Abelgium ngeri gye baafugamu Congo baakozinga secession after independence. How? Their work. That's what we call discrimination, divide and rule, regional imbalance. Bye baakola mu Congo nga yo byakoze secession bya colonial legacy. Baafavalinga nnyo province ye Congo ignoring other provinces. So after independence, Katanga was more ready than prepared to rule or to take over power by itself. Olekeza watugambye wano nti the Belgians treated the Congolese people as primitive and assumed they were not ready for independence, which delayed African participation in governance and decision making. As a result, all important positions in the civil service, police and army were occupied by Belgian officials, where Africans were largely excluded from senior leadership roles. This meant that when independence came in 1960, there were very few trained Congolese administrators capable of effectively managing a large, complex country. So the Belgians never prepared the Africans for self-rule. Before independence, political positions in government were dominated by the Belgians. So our Belgian bagenda, Africans were not ready for self-rule. So with their departure, secession became inevitable. Babafuganga tebabatraininze kubeera nga beefuga bo nga bo. So bwe baali bavudde mu Congo nga bagenzi, baaleka Abafirika nga they can't control, they can't manage themselves. Hence the Katanga secession. So colonial legacy, their economic, political and social policies in Congo made the Katanga secession inevitable. Another major cause of the Katanga secession was the Belgian policy of divide and rule. Divide and rule policy. That's still colonial legacy. The divide and rule policy led to the Katanga secession. The Belgians favored certain groups and regions in education, administration, and economic opportunities, while neglecting others. Bafavoringa mu group emu ne bagiwa education ng'eri good, ne baneglectinga groups ezisigadde. Which caused the resentment and mistrust among Congolese communities. For example, the colonial system produced a small educated elite concentrated in areas like Leopoldville, now Kinshasa, while other regions were left underdeveloped and politically marginalized. By educating a group emu, then by developing a group emu. So other groups were behind, or others were in front in development. That's what we call regional imbalance. They divided Congo and favored a certain group in Congo, while ignoring other groups. For example, after independence in 1960, these divisions weakened national unity, leading to instability and breakaway attempts such as the secession of Katanga under Moise Tshombe, where local leaders, supported by regional interests and foreign mining companies, sought to control their own resources. This shows that colonial favoritism and unequal development directly undermined national cohesion and contributed to fragmentation in the areas of independence. Kubeera nga bafubalinga gurupu emu, favoring other groups, bwe baagenda, there was no national unity. They are divided. So the people of Katanga were favored, hence being ready for the breakaway from the central government. So that's what we call divide and rule policy. They divided. After dividing, they favored a certain group in Congo, ignoring another group. So the group of Katanga was favored with good education, good infrastructure, hence being able for break to break away from the central government after independence. Another major cause of the Katanga secession was regionalism. Regionalism. Little wonder that even after independence, the political parties that were formed were on tribal grounds. The Konakat party represented the interest of the people of Katanga. This sowed the seeds of micronationalism, hence the attempted secession, regionalism. After independence, the people of Congo formed the political parties. Those political parties were based on regional. So the region of Katanga had its political party, even those ones of Leopoldville and others. So national unity became difficult to achieve because every province had its interests. So regionalism became a threat to political unity. That's due to regional imbalance. So they formed political parties based on regional basis than being national. So they had different ideas. They didn't have one goal of national unity. Hence, Congo had to break away into two different provinces. Hence the Katanga secession. The Belgians offered inferior education to the Congolese, hence contributing to attempted secession. Primarily, school was made the highest level of education, and by the time Zaire became independent, very few people had attained education above primary level, and it had only 30 university graduates. This left few individuals with graduate education to appreciate national goals and handle national issues, hence the attempted secession. This was also colonial legacy. The education was inferior, whereby the Belgians put education up to primary level. A few people exceeded that level. Education yali nnafu. Abakongo tebabasomesa kimala. Bakimala singa baali basomye ekimala baali b'opposinze. So the education was inferior, whereby a certain group of people, little people, attained the higher education, and most of them were from Katanga. So other provinces, people were not educated, making them unable to spread the ideas of self-rule and national independence. So with lower education, the people of Congo had no ideas of national unity, hence breaking away from each other. So Katanga secession was driven by inferior education, whereby a certain group in Congo was educated, whereby others were not educated. So that's favored the people of Katanga, hence attempted secession. Nga bali basomye bonna ab'omu Congo wandibaddewo groups ez'enjawulo ezirwanirira eddembe n'obwegassi mu Congo. But being that ab'e Katanga be baali basomye bokka, be baali developed bokka, be baali educated bokka, be balina ideas to take over power after independence. So the Katanga secession was driven by inferior education that's due to colonial legacy. Another point, the Belgians denied the Congolese the right to form mass political parties and associations, hence the occurrence of Katanga secession. The Belgian colonial masters made matters worse when they blocked nationalists from leaving Congo to attend nationalistic movements meetings. The lack of mass
n'abantu
exposure
era enamba
created a
yagimanyi
ground of
eyingira
ethnic
negyafulumya.
sub-nationalism,
alina
which
ebitonde biri mu
manifested
mazzi,
itself through secessionist
obungi bwabyo
attitude.
tebwe
Tebabakkiriza kukola national parties bakibanninga Belgium. They knew that if the people of Congo form mass national political parties, they will be difficult to manage or to govern. So they ended up making them forming political parties based on their provinces, as I told you. That's also made a ground for the Katanga secessionist attempts. They exploited excessive exploitation of Katanga by the Belgians, also the Katanga secession. Exploitation of wealth and minerals in Katanga made the Katanga secession inevitable, because it created long-standing economic grievances and feelings of injustice among the local population and elites. During colonial rule, the Belgians heavily exploited Katanga's rich mineral resources, especially copper and other valuable minerals, while with little investment in the region's development. At Belgium, they exploited the wealth, the minerals of Congo with little and imbalanced development. Katanga was very rich in minerals, like uranium, cobalt, among others. The exploitation was too high, while the development was low, only based in Katanga. So with their departure, they left economic problems in Congo, which the government of Patrice Lumumba failed to solve. So after independence, the people of Katanga had to break away, claiming that the central government of Patrice Lumumba cannot have the economic pressure in Congo. Hence the Katanga secessionist attempt, among others. The influence of white settlers also led to the Katanga secession. Influence of white settlers also led to the Katanga secession, especially in the mineral-rich province of Katanga. Many Belgian settlers owned large and profitable business, particularly in mining, and they feared that after development politically, financially, and militarily. Continue. After Congo gained independence in 1960, Belgium and strong economic interests in Katanga, a province rich in minerals such as copper and uranium. To protect these interests, Belgian authorities and business groups allegedly gave included financial assistance, advisory influence, and the presence of Belgian technical experts and military officers who remained in Katanga even after independence. Such backing gave Shombe confidence that he could successfully run a separate state and resist the authority of, of central government in Leopoldville. With these advantages, he declared the independence in Katanga, forming a breakaway state. As a result, the development weakened national unity in Congo and encouraged regional leaders to challenge the authority of the central government. Abelgium bawa support to Katanga. They extended financial and military support to Katanga breakaway. You can say the companies so to achieve that, they gave support, external and financial and military support to Moise Shombe. So Moise Shombe got false confidence, thought he can take over power. Bamuwa ebyokulwanyisa, bamuwa akasente, even protection. They gave him arms fight against the central government of Lumumba and his president. So Katanga became ready for to rule or for self-independence in Belgian Congo due to false confidence or due to support from the Belgians. That's what we call my financial and military support, which he achieved or attained from the government of the Belgians, among others. The weakness of the weakness of UNO, United Nations Organization, also led to the Katanga secession. We all know that UNO was formed in 1945 to promote world peace, unity, and solidarity. By forming UNO in 1945 to promote peace, unity, and solidarity in the whole world. So, kubanga yaliwo ng'ebintu ebyo bigenda mu maaso, kiraga nti was weak and less effective in handling world state conflicts. So, bagambye nti the UN deployed peacekeeping troops but avoided direct involvement in internal political conflicts, which allowed Moise Shombe to consolidate control over Katanga province. Since Katanga was rich in minerals, this delay gave the secessionist government time to organize its administration and military support, making it harder for the central government to restore authority. In addition, UN forces initially operated unevenly across the country, patrolling most of Congo but being hesitant to fully intervene in Katanga, which was the main center of secession. This created perception that the UN was unwilling or unable to directly challenge the secession forces. Was weak. Tyenyigira mu internal affairs. Yaleta officers, but they occupied other provinces, leaving out Katanga. So failed to its aim of achieving total peace and unity in the whole world. Singa yali alina amaanyi, suppresses the Katanga attempts to break away from the central government, but it failed to achieve that due to its weaknesses and being less effective in handling world state affairs. Another point was the creation of a colonial force without Africans led to the attempted secession. The force was mainly made up of Belgian soldiers and the few Africans who were there faced discrimination, fast promotion, low payments, and poor accommodation. The commander rejected the proposal of Africanizing force republic and didn't allow promotion of Africans. This annoyed Congolese soldiers who mutinied and killed a number of Belgians. Chombe exploited the situation and declared secession. That's about the discrimination in the army led to the Katanga secession. Mu magye aga Congo mwali mujjuddemu bazungu baali basingamu. The issue was left to be resolved after independence. This created confusion and uncertainty in the new state. As a result, the regional leaders interpreted the constitution in ways that suited their own interests, with some arguing that they had the right to greater autonomy or even full independence. This encouraged the separatist movements, especially in resource-rich areas such as Katanga and Shombe. The lack of strong constitutional framework weakened the authority of the central government in low parties. So, tebadefininga government gye balina okuba nga bawa abafirika after independence. Baatuula mu Belgium, Brussels in Belgium, baatuula from independence, before independence. Which independence should we give Congo? National independence, or we leave them on province independence, whereby each province had to obtain to get its independence. So they failed to solve that idea, that issue. So African leaders after independence had an idea of breaking away from the government, forming independent states. That's what we call political autonomy in provinces. Katanga, Bible independence, Yabwe, Leopoldville, Chief Kasai, among others. So the weakness of the Brussels Treaty or the Brussels Conference, but to Brussels to decide which independence could we give the people of Congo, but they did agree. So the weakness of that treaty led to the Katanga secession. Other causes were the Chombe's greed for power, also led to the Katanga secession. Moise Chombe's greed for power. Moise Chombe, as a leader of Katanga province, had ambitions of becoming a leader and take over the whole Congo. So yayagala okubeera omukulembeze wa Congo badda nga akyali muto. So his greed for power drove him into the secessionist attempts. yalina okwagala okuba nga yafugako ng'akyali muto, yalina omululu gw'okwagala obukulembeze. So that good for power also laid foundations for the Katanga secession. Another cause was the of Katanga secession was what can you talk about? And of course the economic strength of Katanga. The economic strength of Katanga. Katanga had minerals. So Katanga was economically strong. Minerals nga copper, uranium, among others, bagifuula state ey'amaanyi okusinza ku states ezaali mu Congo ezisigadde. So kubanga Katanga yali economically strong and rich, it was able to launch secession or to break away from the central government with support from the Belgians, the companies they had. Then Katanga also led to the Katanga secession. Another point was the Lumumba's weaknesses. Lumumba was too corrupt and less effective. Patrice Lumumba was too weak and unable to control the state affairs of Congo at large as the prime minister. So after independence, with his corruption and dictatorship, attracted other leaders to break away from the central government. There was over-taxation, poor governance, hence the Katanga secession. So those are some of the causes of Katanga secession. We look about the colonial legacy of the whereby the people of the religions never prepared Africans for self-governance. There was inequality, less participation in politics, among others. Then the education was inferior. Abafirika tebabasomesa kimala kutegeera migaso gya independence. Hence the Katanga secession. Then the weakness of UNO also was another major factor, because UNO was formed to promote peace and unity in the whole world. So the presence of such instabilities in Africa will show that the UNO was still weak and has work to do to solve those conflicts. Then also looked about the economic strength of Katanga, Shombe's beautiful power, and others. So candidates should take note of those political instabilities, mainly Biafra and Katanga.